Hi, welcome to Don Hall Works. I'm Loren Lukens. I'm here to give a little video presentation about the making of a large platter on a form. This is one I made last spring. It's called Almond Bloom, and you can see it has a foot on the back and a wire, and this is what we'll be doing today. We're going to start with a block of B-mix, cone 5, that I've fired with an electric kiln. I'm going to take it, the block, pound it out a bit before I get started. Rotating it as I go. I want the slab to be round. I'm starting from a square, so I'll do a little bit of corner tapping to keep it on its way towards round. There's no need to wedge this ball of clay before you start, because all of this pounding and slab throwing pretty much takes care of any residual air bubbles that might be in the clay. All right, I need a little more room, so I'm going to take this out to the slab outside. I'm going to do some throwing of this slab on my concrete slab here, but first I need to make sure it's nice and clean. So give it a nice sweep. It's very dusty in the valley, and dust accumulates really quickly. All right, let's give this a throw. I did a workshop years ago, 45 years ago, with Betty Woodman, University of California, Colorado, and she was very dramatic in her slab throwing. I learned this technique a long time ago. All right, now I'm going to transfer this to the slab roller. So I'm going to trim this platter a little bit before I first run it through the slab roller. I have an approximate size here. I'll just use a needle tool to trim off edges. Save this clay for later. I have a specific purpose for it. I've adjusted the slab roller to about 3/8 of an inch thickness, maybe a little more than that. This is a double roller, slab roller, which is really what I prefer. It rolls from both sides. Give it a quarter turn. Give it a flip. Another bit of a trim. I'm kind of maxing out the size of my slab roller, so that's why I have to do so much trimming. Now I'll adjust the slab roller down to 3 turns. Check it for thickness on the little guides on the side. And ready to go again. One more trim. And now I'll add a little water to the surface, and using a blade, I'll burnish out some of the texture from the canvas. This is a point where you could texture this slab. This is going to be face down on the mold, so some of it will be lost, but it is a time that you could put stamps in or rolls or whatever. All right, call that good. Now it's time to transfer this back to the slab, to the platter form on the inside. All right, here I come with the slab, ready to lay it on this form. So I have this layer of clay laid over this form. This is a form I made over 40 years ago, and I've been using it ever since. It's plaster, and it was cast into a giant bowl. I threw a giant bowl that I wanted a certain shape, and it's not something you can really just find out there. And I recommend that you make your own bowls, and then you just pour plaster into them and you have the opposite form. So I'm ready to go on this, and I'll use a roller to further thin this shape. I'm thinning it across the top, so it's the thickest point will be right where the foot ring will sit. And then I'll go down, roll down. I'm stretching the clay out and thinning it. I really want the slab to be not all the same thickness. I want it to be thin at the edges, thin in the middle, and thicker around the waist, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to do something that is a little bit unique. I'll use compressed air under the edges to make sure it's not stuck to the plaster anymore. Once the clay is stuck to the plaster, it won't move anymore. So you can see it starting to lift up. There we go. Now I can go back to thinning again, and the clay will move. I'm actually going to score a line so I know where I'm working. Check the thickness of the slab with a needle tool. So I have scored a couple of lines, and they will be useful to me. It'll make sense to you in a little bit, but I'll use my needle tool to trim that edge just a little bit outside of those two score lines I put in. All this trimming I'll use for another process that's coming up. All right, now I'm going to use the rolling pin again to further thin the edge. And one of the things that I am able to do with this is to soften this cut edge. I want what I call a live edge. Something like you would do on a piece of wood if you were making a table. You know what a live edge is. It's the actual border of the log itself, and I really like that undulation that happens because of this process. So using my rolling pin, you can see how I'm pushing out the clay and making the platter bigger, and also undulating the edge. A monkey can make a round pot. All right, let's check and see how round this thing is. Close enough for government work. But you see how the undulation happens? I just love that. That's natural. A little thick, funny spot right here. I'll give it a little bit of a... This is a magnetic wheel. It's Whisper Light by Shimpo. It doesn't run on a belt. And one of the factors of this is it freewheels when it's not being used, which is both a great thing and an annoying thing sometimes. I'm not quite used to it. It's a fairly new wheel to me. But it is very, very quiet. This is a platter I made already, and you can see the soft, natural edge and the foot that I put in. I've got a little bee there. And this is approximately how deep I'm going to make it.
Now, Loren, you actually have some holes in here. Is that for the wire to hold it?
That's correct.
Hang it on the wall?
Yeah, I use, it makes it so that I can have whatever the orientation of the piece is, I'll have a way to hang it. I have 5 holes in each piece, so it's not set up to go on square, but I can use any 2 of these, or I could skip one and I'll end up with something that actually hangs correctly. If I were a better artist, I would probably plan it. Then I could only have 2 holes and it would be good, but I'm not that good. So I like to give myself some leeway. So I have this wonderful tool I got when I visited China. They had in Jingdezhen, there was a potter's tool store, all handmade tools. It's the best scoring device I've ever had.
And then now for where the foot's going to go, like be attached, right?
This is where the foot will be attached. I'm going to create the foot in just a minute, and I'll eventually, after I get the foot created, I'll score that side. And I just use water to attach, just a little bit of water. Don't try to use slip. Sometimes slip causes more problems than it's worth. All right, this is ready. I've got water to attach with. Now I'll prepare a block of clay over here to extrude the piece for the foot. So this is all the scrap that came off of that platter. I started out with 18 pounds. Happen to know that because I've done this a time or two. And this needs to be wedged because it has lots of air in it. Standard spiral wedge, something everyone should learn how to do. You can theoretically wedge 25 pounds of clay at once. Who wants to? I don't, but learning how to do this is a really smart idea. It's a skill. It takes as long as it takes to learn how to center a piece of clay. All right, I'm making this into the right shape to go into my extruder. Which is all set up outside and ready to go. I have my block all ready to go into the extruder. I've already put the die in place. It's clipped in place. So here we go. It's a homemade extruder. Had it for 50 years probably. All right, there's a snake worthy. All right, here we go. Here's my snake. I'll lay it down on the table so that I can do a little work on it before I attach it. This is the edge that will be attached to the platter, so I'm giving it a little bit of a shaping. And here's my scoring tool again. Good deep scores. That is what is the key to getting things to attach accurately and efficiently. Cross hatching. Go one way and then go across it the other direction. And I actually kind of scrub it in so that the water goes down into a little bit into the scoring, and you're kind of making a little slip right on the surface. So that's why there's really no need to have slip. You can make your own right in place. I'll do the same thing to the bottom of the platter now. All right, now I'm going to put a little water on the scores that I've already done on the platter, scrubbing it in just a little bit, so kind of creating a little bit of slip. Not too much water. You don't want to get too wet because water means shrinkage. Shrinkage means cracking. So just right is the thing. Do it just right. All right, this is scrubbed in nice. And it's time to... Here we go. Transfer the plenty here. And when you come to the overlap, cut to it at the same time, like this, at an angle. Pull that piece away and pull that piece away. And then score the ends just like you would any other attachment. Put a little bit of water on them, scrub that in. And then attach the two together really thoroughly. Now you notice I'm doing this before I hook this to the platter itself. So I'm deciding how big this ring is going to be now. It's not going to be any bigger. All right, so now I have a line that I can follow around here to get the foot in just the right space. So with a finger on each side, pushing down, and pressing it into that score line. I've done this a lot of different ways. You can do it with a coil, a rolled coil. It's difficult to get a rolled coil to be the right thickness consistently. Some people could do that. I have switched to this extruded version because it gives me an accurate amount of clay. I know that I've got a cross section of the foot that is consistent. Come all the way around once and dragging clay across that joint. That's how you're going to really get the thing to attach. All right, that's the inside. Give it a good seal. And now do the same thing to the outside, which I want it to be a little bit flared. I'm not sure why. It's just my aesthetic, I think. Don't skip this part. It's a really important part. All right, all the way around. Give that a smear. And now, with a little bit of water, I'll not quite throw this, but a little bit of a throw. And then I'll use a rigid rib, my favorite rib in the world. There we go. Now trim the foot level. All right, now I'm going to cut the holes for the wire. And I want to do a 5-spot cut. Actually, I think I'll use my hole cutter for that. I don't ever measure this. I just guess it. needle tool to round this out a little bit and make a nice soft landing for the wire so there's nothing sharp. And one little detail I like to do, I have a little texture tool that I bought somewhere. These are available pretty much everywhere. You've probably seen them around. Just a roller that has a texture applied to it. And I've started adding a texture to the outside of these